For centuries, the world has witnessed unexplainable events, signs that shake the very foundation of human understanding. But among the most terrifying mysteries is the story of a man who foresaw the future with chilling accuracy, Nostradamus. His prophecies were not vague riddles, nor were they mere coincidences. His words, written centuries ago, have predicted wars, disasters, and the fall of nations, many of which have already come true. But what's even more terrifying is that his final prophecies are still unfolding today. Could it be that Nostradamus was chosen to warn humanity? Was his gift divine, a prophetic calling? Or something even more mysterious? As the world plunges deeper into moral and spiritual crisis, are we living through the very events he predicted? Among his most disturbing prophecies, 3 stand out as the final warnings, foretelling a time of great deception, global war, and fire from the heavens. These are not distant threats. They are happening now. Look around. Faith is under attack. Nations are on the brink of destruction. The world is changing at an alarming speed. The shadows of prophecy loom over us, yet few are paying attention. Are we witnessing the fulfillment of a prophecy meant to prepare us, or is this the beginning of something far worse? The time for questioning is over. The warnings have been given. Stay with us as we reveal the shocking final prophecies of Nostradamus and what they mean for the fate of the world. This is not a story. This is a warning. Will you listen before it's too late? The air was thick with incense, the dim candlelight flickering against the stone walls of a silent monastery. The old scholar sat at his desk, quill in hand, eyes heavy with the weight of the visions that plagued his mind. Nostradamus had spent a lifetime deciphering the mysteries of the universe, but what he had seen that night was unlike anything before. His ink-stained fingers trembled as he recorded the words that burned in his soul. He knew that what he was about to write would haunt humanity for centuries to come. From the time he was a boy, Nostradamus had sensed that he was different. Born into a family of healers and scholars, he was surrounded by knowledge, yet nothing could explain the visions that had tormented him since childhood. While other children played beneath the stars, he studied them, searching for answers in their celestial patterns. At night, he saw images flashing before him, cities burning, kings falling, wars stretching across lands, and shadows creeping into the heart of the church itself. He had tried to ignore them, but they always returned, vivid and unrelenting. As he grew older, his gift became undeniable. He could predict the outcome of battles before they began. He knew when sickness would take hold of a village before the first symptoms appeared. People whispered about his ability to see into the future, but not all were grateful. Some feared him, calling him cursed, believing he had made a pact with something beyond this world. Others sought him out, desperate for guidance, pleading for him to alter their fates. But Nostradamus was no god. He could only deliver the warnings. Whether they chose to listen was another matter entirely. One of his earliest prophecies was for a nobleman who had come to him, his face pale with worry. The stars had shown Nostradamus something grim, something irreversible. He advised the man to change his path, to avoid a particular battle that would be his end. But pride is a powerful force. And the nobleman laughed off his warning. Days later, the news arrived. He had been slain, exactly as Nostradamus had foreseen. It was not the first time his words had been ignored. Nor would it be the last. As his reputation grew, so did his fears. The visions were coming more frequently, and they were becoming darker. He saw fire raining from the heavens, consuming cities in an unholy inferno. He saw war unlike any before, where blood soaked the earth and faith itself was shaken to its core. He saw the church, once the guiding light of the world, divided, infiltrated by darkness, its leaders lost in deception. One night, he awoke in a cold sweat. A single phrase ringing in his mind like the tolling of a funeral bell: the great war shall come, and with it, the fall of faith. He could not escape the image of crumbling cathedrals, of empty pews, of a world where belief had been eroded by corruption and doubt. He knew that the battle to come would not be fought only with swords and cannons, but with ideologies, with lies disguised as truth, with a world seduced away from God. He tried to warn those who would listen. He wrote feverishly, documenting his visions in cryptic quatrains, hiding the truth in riddles so that only those with wisdom would understand. He spoke of a ruler who would fall by his own arrogance, of a war that would engulf nations, and of a day when fire would descend from the sky, bringing devastation unseen since the time of Sodom and Gomorrah. There were those who mocked him, who dismissed his prophecies as nothing more than superstition. But time and time again, his words proved true. When a great monarch fell exactly as he had predicted, the murmurs turned into terror. The people who had once scorned him now begged for his counsel, desperate to know what doom awaited them. But Nostradamus knew that some things were not meant to be changed. In his final days, he withdrew from the world, retreating into solitude as the visions consumed him. He had seen enough, and the burden was too great. His body grew frail, his once sharp mind clouded with exhaustion. But before he passed, he had one final vision, one that he barely had the strength to write. It was a prophecy unlike any other. He saw an age of great deception, where those who claimed to be righteous would lead many astray. He saw faith being twisted, the truth being replaced with comforting lies. He saw a time when men would claim to be gods, where the sacred would be mocked, and where those who still believed would be persecuted. And then, the last vision, a great fire from the heavens, striking the earth in judgment. He saw cities turn to ash, oceans rising, the world trembling beneath the weight of its own sins. He saw the sky darken, the stars themselves seeming to mourn what had been lost. And in the midst of the chaos, a voice rang out, a final plea, calling for repentance. But by then, for many, it was too late. His last words, written in shaking script, were simple. The future is written today. The quill fell from his hand, and Nostradamus breathed his last. But his warnings did not die with him. Even now, centuries later, his words echo across time, whispering their chilling reminders. The world stands on the edge of prophecy, the signs all around us. The church struggles, war looms, and faith is being tested like never before. The question remains, will we listen? Or, like so many before us, will we ignore the warnings until the fire finally falls from the sky, as Nostradamus took his final breath? His mind was no longer tormented by the weight of his visions. He had spent his life as both a scholar and a prophet, carrying the burden of knowledge that few could comprehend. The ink of his final quatrains had barely dried, yet the world would spend centuries deciphering their meaning. The future was no longer his to see, it was now in the hands of those willing to listen. Though mocked in life, time has proven him right again and again. His warnings have resurfaced with chilling accuracy, aligning eerily with the crises of today. Wars rage, faith wavers, and fire threatens to fall from the heavens once more. His words, once dismissed as cryptic poetry, now read like a roadmap of unfolding events. But the question remains, what will we do with this knowledge? Prophecy is not given to instill fear, but to prepare. Nostradamus understood this, and so must we. The signs are here. The warnings have been spoken, but humanity stands at a crossroads. Will we turn back to faith, or continue down the path he so desperately sought to reveal? Final chapter has not yet been written. The choice is ours. Hourglass with flowing sand.